Gracious Lord, we do thank you for this day, for the privilege of living in your world. We pray that you would be with us during our meeting today, Lord. We pray that every thought, word, and deed that we think, say, or do would be great glory and honor to your precious name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I apologize. It's been a busy morning, and I was getting a little faint, so I had to try to shovel in some chicken tenders before I came over here and passed out. Because Bill's going to put that on TV, and then I see that over and over and over again. So, well, isn't it glorious weather out there right now?
Thank you.
What the heck's going on? Dave is not here today, so I'm going to fake a little bit of his part when we get there. I do have a couple of updates, and I don't know, we'll kind of go from there. But first, I'm going to go ahead and start with Mr. Nathan, because he's got an announcement.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. What I wanted to come to the Cobb Connection for today was to introduce you to our new community center manager. And this is her. Her name is Amy Gilmore, and I think she's going to do wonderful things between her and Tasha. I think they're going to do a wonderful job for you. And I'll let her tell a little bit about herself.
Okay, put me on the spot here. I came in this morning to fill out paperwork, and he's like, "Can you stay?" Okay. I have an extensive background in food service. I love being creative. I am a pastry chef, so if you've got a sweet tooth and want something really pretty, I can do it for you. I'm looking so forward to working with Tasha. Her and I have spent the last, hour and a half in her office telling stories. So I think we're going to get along really great. Like I said, I have an extensive background in food service. I've worked for a few different contract service companies that let me create menus, let me do things like that. So I'm well aware of what it involves. And I am more than open for suggestions. Love suggestions. So let me know if you guys want anything special, different, or anything like that. And like I said, open to suggestions. And I am terrible at names, so you might have to tell me your names over and over and over again until it finally clicks. But I do remember faces, and I'm so happy to see all these faces here.
Yeah, and now tonight we have happy hour. Amy's not going to be here for that, but if she is here one day for happy hour, her and her husband used to own a bar too, so I think she'll be so good at that too. Okay, well, I'm going to turn it back over to Tony, and me and Amy are going to leave.
All right. So I want to make something clear. The Webster's Dictionary says suggestions are ideas, not complaints. I want to make sure we all understand that. Suggestions are ideas, not complaints. And officially, Amy starts Monday, so this was a freebie, so thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So, give a quick update. If you do not live in Scottish Rite or York Rite or Rickley, you may not know that we had to do some transformer repairs. So we're all aware that right before Thanksgiving, we had a transformer blowout over in Cunningham, which caused some problems. So that caused us to go ahead and do some research into the rest of our infrastructure. And we found out that the transformers on this campus are rather old. Most of them were identified to be replaced back in 1986. 1986. Just so you know, I was 8, so it's not my fault. But in 1986, they were identified as needing changed, and let's just say they weren't and have not been. So we did have them inspected. So they come out and they shoot them with these guns, and what they do is they look for extra hot spots. Well, we identified 2 transformers that were having issues. Then every 2 weeks, we reassessed, and one of the transformers continued to get worse, so we knew we had to act quickly. We put a plan together, we got the money approved, we got the vendors all lined up, and on Tuesday, was it Tuesday? Tuesday of this week, we did that, those repairs. So it was originally planned for 2 days, and they said we could potentially do them in one. And the famous last words of, if everything goes smoothly, we could probably do them both in 1 day. So nothing went smoothly, and ended up taking 2 days. The transformers were so old, we had to rely on vendors that don't exist anymore to try to figure out what the parts were. Because if you don't know what a transformer does, it takes a certain amount of power and it steps it way up. So it's nothing you can look at without turning off. And if you turn it off, that means York Rite, Rickley, and Scottish Rite are 100% without power. So they had to take their best educated guess. They worked with a bunch of vendors. They said these should be the parts. They ordered them. They got them. They were wrong. So we did find them in Sharon, PA, and they sent a guy, drove all the way up to Sharon Tuesday night. They were back here nice and early Wednesday. We were able to complete them. Outside of that, minor bumps along the way, but it went really well. We learned a lot about our electrical grid inside the building. Some of it you only know when you have a problem. So it was good to learn some of those things. We were able to make some adjustments and get some things different, which actually makes the building safer if there's ever an event, with those transformers. But the good news is we converted power back over about 5:30ish Wednesday, and everything's fine and dandy now. So those 2 repairs were pretty major. It's actually pretty interesting because the part that broke had a crack in it about that long, and that was mostly causing the whole problem with the one transformer. But I do want to recognize Crystal and her team, because it was through Crystal's leadership and organization, all the pre-planning and working with the department heads to get everything to go smoothly, because it was quite an event. I mean, we had to organize the generators, how they're getting hooked up, who's going to do what, lighting in all the stairwells, lighting here, lighting there, what can we shed, all those different things. So I do want to give kudos to Crystal and her team, because they did an amazing job. So that's been the most recent fun. If you haven't gotten our phone calls, I do have to send another phone call. We do have some COVID outbreaks right now. We actually had 2 more skilled nursing residents test positive yesterday, so I'll be sending that one call out this afternoon. The Clark County is orange, so when you're in the buildings, we are encouraging everybody to wear masks. Please, if you're going to York Rite or Rickley or to visit somebody, please wear a mask, use hand sanitizer, wash your hands, those kinds of things, because COVID's not going anywhere. The public health emergency may end, but the virus itself, it doesn't listen to the government any more than most people, so it's still going to be there. I know Crystal's going to give us a quick update about kind of the guard shack and what to expect and how things are going, so turn it over to Crystal.
All right, well, thank you guys. Not gonna lie, just to answer, I have no actual estimated completion date. We're hoping approximately about a month out we'll have the guard shack completed. At this point in time, we're relying on a couple things: 1, vendors, and 2, supply chain, right? We've been dealing with that the whole pandemic. So we're still waiting on a couple pieces of equipment, but as they get things in, they're making progress down there. So Tony and myself, Tom with the grounds department, we've been down there quite a bit, just watching, observing, and looking at some different things. So we're going to make a couple changes to our traffic pattern. So now Lodge Road goes straight up, and there's no stop sign coming in or out. Perimeter Road, which goes around pathways, does stop. We're going to make all outgoing traffic, we're going to put stop signs on both roads. That way those inbound lanes will have the right-of-way in, and then both stop signs can merge into the one lane to the right. We feel that's the safest way to get traffic off of our campus. So a little bit about the guard shack. Everyone who has a vehicle, you will get what we are calling an access pass. So we will issue that to you, and it'll be a sticker that's going to go into your car window. So there's going to be 2 lanes coming onto our campus, and the access pass lane will be the right lane. The lane to the left will be for visitors, vendors, anyone who does not have a pass. So for the access pass lane, you're just going to slow down as you approach the gate. There's going to be a sensor that's going to read the sticker on your car window, and it's going to open the gate up for you. Those going into the visitor lane, they're going to pull up to a box, a call box, and there's going to be one for car height and then one for truck height. So there's going to be 2 buttons. You're going to push that button, and that's going to screen into the PBX and or security, just like the buttons do outside of all the main entrances to the buildings. So they'll screen visitors there down below and then grant access as well. So we're looking at doing some things. We're going to be moving some signs, putting up some signs. We got signage on the way, should be here and start being placed early next week. So any questions about the guard shack? Yeah.
My husband was coming in the other day, and I'm assuming it was someone who does not live here, and they went out the same way he came in. So he had to stop and let them out. Are you going to be putting a sign up that says?
Yep, so we have a sign that's actually going to go on the light pole that says for through track to keep right, like
Okay.
please keep right to exit with the sign. So we already have that. There's going to be signage for the automatic gates that say slow down for the automatic gates, because on the outbound, the automatic gate's a sensor, right? So once the car gets on the sensor, that triggers the gate to open, right? So if people are going too fast, there's not enough time for that gate to open, and you would actually hit that gate. On the inbound side, you're either going to have to stop or slow down enough for it to read your pass before it opens, or you're going to have to stop, press the call button, and then someone's going to have to release that gate. So we do have quite a bit of signage stating that there is automatic gates, how to exit. There will also be coming in, we have worked with the corporate team to get a map created. So that's being made coming in. That will show 2 lanes, which one's the visitor, which one's access pass, and then it actually has an exit only, do not enter sign for the exit way. Yeah.
Do the gates have a sign that says visitors and 2 separate gates, right?
Yeah, they are 2 separate gates. They're not labeled. They're not labeled on the gates. They'll be labeled on the sign as well as on the roadway.
Another question. The computerized for the visitors, is that going to be short enough so they're going to be forced to the left to reach the...
Yeah, it's actually,
mechanism?
yeah, so if you look, there's actually a kind of candy cane looking bar right now, and that's where the call button will be. So they'll pull up on the driver's side, and they'll just reach out their window and push it right, within arm's reach.
This is a really stupid question, but, okay, I've been on different bases with different things. We put the sticker will be in the middle, so that no matter which way you are, or does it go on the right, or does it go on the left of the windshield?
I would say the right, because the reader's on the right side of the road.
That's what I was thinking.
So the closer you get to it, the quicker it'll be.
I was thinking maybe in the middle, because a lot of bases have one in the middle.
No, because the sensor is going to be off on the right-hand side.
Is the sticker transferable to another vehicle?
So we haven't actually had one in our hands yet, so we don't really know. That's one of the supply chain issues we're waiting on, is they've been ordered, and we ordered 1,000 of them. That's what we're waiting for. If they're a cling style, they should be. But if they're a sticker, I don't know if you'd be able to peel it off and reuse it. But that doesn't mean that you can't set it on the dashboard. You may have to play with it to see where it'll read. The reader's pretty strong, but it still has to get, that RFID signal. So I know you have to have it as clear, like you can't put it in your glove compartment. But I don't know if you can set it on the dashboard. I don't know yet.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the things that we still have to determine what they are and how to best use them or best locate them.
And are you going to order some extra arms?
Already have some.
Yeah. Yes, we do. We already have that plan in place.
I guess we should also point out, there are so many security cameras down there that if someone takes it out, there is no way we won't know who it is. There's license plate readers, there's facial recognition cameras, we got it down pat.
And your rent goes up.
1984 over again.
Come all the way down after each car?
So on the inbound lanes, yes. On the outbound lanes, as long as someone's on the sensor, it will not come down.
Thank you.
So the inbound lanes will let one car through at a time and close in between each. In the outbound lane, you know, if there's a straight line of traffic and people are on those sensors, it will stay up.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point, because, so these sensors get cut into the ground, okay? So when you go to leave, there's one on this side of the gate, and then there's one on this side of the gate. When you come in, there's only one on that side of the gate. So once that first car goes past, if you try to punch it, there's no other sensor. You're just going to get hit with the gate. So it allows one car at a time, which I believe is on the sign.
Yeah.
But there's no two sensors on that one. So when it goes up and a car goes through, there's no trying to punch it and beat them, because it's just going to come right back down. So it's going to be interesting for a little bit.
There's only going to be an arm coming in, there's an arm you have to read, but going out, there's no arm, you just have to drive out.
No, there's a big arm
Yeah.
going out.
Oh, they're going out and going in.
Yep,
Yeah.
so there's a big arm that comes from the center all the way out to the edge of the road,
Okay.
give or take a foot. And Crystal met with Tom, and we're going to put some fencing over there so you just can't drive around it. Because we want to make sure you just can't drive around it.
Yep.
So we're going to put a fence up there.
Yeah, so we're looking at some fencing options. We're going to try to match some fences so it looks nice.
So you'll know who's doing the campus and
Yep.
everything.
Yep, that way you can't just go around stuff or...
Over stuff.
Yep. So...
We want to talk about the main entrances to the buildings and the changes we're going to make there.
So because we're going to... Oh, Denise...
1984 all over.
When somebody comes in and they're a visitor, they're going to talk to what, security?
Yep, and or the PBX.
Okay. Do they show their identity card or, driver's license or anything?
No.
Say who they're coming in to see? or-
Yep, so it's going to mimic the screening procedures we already have in place at the entrance doors. And that kind of leads into a segue. So because we already asked, what's your purpose of visiting today, or are you here to visit someone, in particular, do you know where you're going? Those types of questions. We are going to make a change that when that is in place, during our normal what was unlock hours, we are going to automatically set our main building entrance doors to go unlocked. Because we will be screening everyone coming onto the campus through the guard check. So the doors, we can program them automatically, so during certain windows they will be unlocked. So that'll be all of our main building entrance doors will be unlocked during the daytime unlock hours.
Because if not, if I had to buzz to come in, that means I'm not a resident or a staff member. So PBX has to answer that. Well, PBX is also answering phone calls. So if I talk to you at the gate, and then you pull up in the front of York Road and you go to come in, why do I have to talk to you twice? It's just taking more time from PBX. So we're trying to cut it down. So probably from like 7 to 7, 7 to 8, we're going to have the main doors just free so that we don't have to bog down the PBX operators. So if they're talking to you at the gate, there's no reason to talk at the door.
So if someone's just picking us up, when they buzz in, they'll say, I'm picking up Betty and Scottish Rite, and I'm just picking her up, or I'm just delivering her groceries or whatever.
Yep.
Yep,
Okay.
that's kind of the guard check update, guys.
All right. Thank you, Crystal. I know everybody's thinking, that is a 24 square foot guard shack, and we've been working on that thing for like 3 years, and they've been building it for a year. It's crazy, but it's eventful.
This is about time to bite the bullet, get us an elevator.
So unfortunately, that is not in my control. We went down that path, and right now the corporate office has decided that they can't justify the expense right now. So I do know that the last time Scottish Rite elevator went down, he came out and he said, hey, I have another client who's got this same exact elevator, and they keep having the same exact issue. This is the repair we're trying over there, and if it works, we're going to do it here and go from there. So there's like a little filter in there, and the filter keeps getting clogged. So they're going to try something at this other vendor, and if it works, then we'll do it here and kind of see how it goes. There's just no answers for it. And the people who built it don't have any answers either. So, not great. Yeah, Otis has been really good, and it's not even their elevator. You know, that's what's kind of a little tricky is it's like having, you know, it's like having a guy who's been an auto mechanic his whole life working with Chevys and Fords, and someone pulls in a BMW. Sure, it's a car, sure, it's internal combustion, but it's just so different. And that's what he's running into with the difference between an Otis elevator and a Tyson Krupp. So, all right, what other updates? So, I know we had talked about, this is actually a pretty big update. This is a very recent change. We had talked about, everyone's asking about Home Day. Then the corporate office said that we're going to do an event per campus. And we had tried to make one work for June 10th. We've been kicking around ideas. We've been trying to come up with what it should look like, what kind of roles everybody would play, and how it would feed out. And the big question is how much budget would be. We had a meeting earlier this week, and we have decided to not go forward with the June 10th date that was originally picked, and to try to do what we were calling like an SMC day. So we had to get away from that because as we start to put this together, the budget for that is climbing and climbing and climbing to the point where it's pretty much out of reach. So what we have decided to do is we had to forego the 4th of July fireworks in order to have that event. What we've decided to do is to go back to the 4th of July fireworks, which will now be June 30th, which is the Friday before the 4th of July, and we're going to open it to the public. So it's going to be a little different. We're probably going to we're going to reach out to the Masonic lodges who did the food for Home Day, give them an opportunity to be one of the food vendors there, and so on and so forth. The event will be a little later, so instead of starting at 4 p.m. and then everybody going home, taking a nap, and waking back up for the fireworks, we're going to start it a little later, we're going to open it to the public, and we're going to try to get some different vendors and whatnot in there. So we've nixed the idea of doing the June 10th, and we really got a lot of pressure when people found out we weren't doing the fireworks for the 4th. People were very disappointed, so we thought that would be a good event to go ahead and open to the public because A, it doesn't conflict with the Springfield fireworks because they're not Friday, and people will go see fireworks on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday if they're close enough. So we thought that was a good event to still get people in, get people on the campus, see the campus, and get the word out. So we're going to a June 30th. We're going to do the fireworks again. At this point, it is staying up at the clubhouse. We are investigating potentially moving it and doing it a little differently because if we invite the public, I don't got a lot of room, and we sure don't have a lot of parking, but we got that whole space out in front of Pathways. So we're talking about maybe looking and seeing, can they shoot the fireworks from a different spot? Can we move the location of the event and do it maybe down in the parking? Because if you've been to Home Day, everybody parks in that grass, and then we shuttle them back and forth. So we talked about maybe seeing if we could stage it a little differently. So more details will come as we investigate it. Worst comes to worst, we'll just have people park down there and drive the buses back and forth to get them up to the event. So we've got a lot of planning to still do, but that's, as we got everybody together to walk through what that June 10th event looked like, how it was going to go, and the cost started piling up, it became very apparent that it was going to climb out of reach real quick. Plus, being the fact it's only a few months away, we were already running into issues of vendors not being able to be available that quickly. So the June 30th event seems to be a little easier to manage, and it's a great event. Probably going to start at around 6 p.m. that night. We'll probably when the event kicks off. That way, hopefully, the heat will go down a little bit. Because it's a hot day, it can get hot on that pavement quick. All right, so that's about the June 10th event. That's now the June 30th event. What? When I turned the power off in Scottish Rite, we knew people wouldn't be able to go back and forth to the community center to get dinner, So we did pizza over in Scottish Rite so they didn't have to go. Then we ended up not turning the power off till the next night, and it was while everybody was over here at dinner. So we did say to stay over here and have dessert while we got the power back on. So I'll share this with you because this is actually a funny story. We're all ready to turn the power back on, and the electrician, he's about this tall. He's a little guy, his name's Jay, great guy. He dons this big heavy suit. He's got this big helmet on. He makes us all leave the room, turn around just in case it arcs we don't see. He's like, I'm going to turn the power on. So we're all like waiting. We're all, back return. And all we hear is, crap. We haven't turned the power off in these buildings in so long, he couldn't flip the switch. It's this big lever, and it's at a very awkward height, and he couldn't get the leverage on it. The spring was all clamped up, so we thought we were turning power on. It took about 25 minutes to take that switch apart because it will go, but it was just like one thing after another, and I felt so bad for him because he's all donned up, ready to go. It was hot in there because there was steam blowing, and he's sweating, and the switch would not move. I asked for a hammer, but he didn't let me hit the other thing with the hammer, so I wasn't let me do that either. Let's see. Fish fry's coming up. Anyone know the date on that? Dave didn't give me no. 24th. 24th. That's right. The 24th is the fish fry. Dave's got his new fryers in. He's got volunteers lined up, so we're excited to break in those fryers. I know Tim Tim the driver is going to help fry, and if you guys don't know, Tim does a lot of smoking and things like that. He's got a big smoker, so he's a good guy to have on standby for the fish fry. But I know we're excited about that. Next Thursday night, you're going to see a bunch of people up at the clubhouse. So we're part of the Greater Springfield Partnership. So if you remember back in, was it 21, we got the Business of the Year from them. That is what replaced the chamber. We're actually hosting an event here next Thursday night. You'll see a bunch of people come through. Don't be surprised if they drive around the campus. But we're hosting the, it's like an after-hours event over at the clubhouse. Okay. That is pretty much everything I had on my list that we needed to talk about. I know we're very happy to have Amy joining us. And, she was kind of humble about her, she said she has extensive experience. She's got extensive experience. And she's a chef, and she's a pastry chef. So we're very excited that she's coming in with a completely different set of qualifications. And the good news is I lived through Chef Stephen, and I can tell you they're two very different chefs. So that's a plus. Because I know the last time we hired a chef and we told everybody that, it got real touchy real quick, real fast. So this is a lot different. And I'm very excited to have her here, and I think we're going to see great things come over. Because we did tell her, where we kind of want to see things go and from there. So she's well versed ahead of time on what she has laid in front of her. So remember, suggestions are not complaints; they're ideas. All right. Okay. Well, Mr. Stan, I think you made it back to Ohio.
I did.
Do you have anything you want to address? Tell us how the weather was in Florida.
I don't really have anything to add from what you said. It is nice to be back. I've been gone extra long this time. My first time having my own business, I was never able to be gone more than 2 weeks, but now I'm semi-retired, and it took a little longer. So I feel like I've lost touch with everything at the moment, but it's just good to be back, and I continually praise Tony. It seems like every time he turns around, something is breaking down somewhere, and you just do an excellent job to cover for the problem and get it taken care of.
I think that's big too.
Yeah. Other than that, happy spring to everybody.
Yeah. Okay. Well, oh yeah, we turned the clock. It's spring ahead. Yeah. Danita? I have no update on the dog park. I did meet with Rob Hannaran. So a few of you may have met Rob Hannaran.
he's been kind of working with the foundation for like 3 or 4 years. He held some events where, like, he met with residents and not actually in this room, like a select group of their just like random residents and staff. Steve Pettigene, who used to be the executive director of the foundation, is now our chief operating officer. And Rob Hannaran has joined the team, and he's kind of like an interim executive director of the foundation. So his specialty is fundraising. So we met 2 or 3 weeks ago, and that is definitely one of the projects I made sure he had, on his list for fundraising, and then we had some other discussions. So it's on his radar, that's for sure, but I have no updates on it as of right now.
What's going on with the front door of Scottish Widows? So the front is a very outward door.
Oh, the one that broke?
Yeah. So during the power outage, right, we had to turn off the transformer. It was 100% power outage in Scottish Rite, New York Rite. Luckily, we were able to transfer in a different way, but it wasn't 100% outage. But to try to minimize damage to the building and the building system, we went through and we shut off the automatic doors. We shut off the air handler things with motors, trying to prevent those power surges. But unfortunately, the very outward door of Scottish Rite was a victim of the power outages and the surges of turning it back on and off. So we've had a vendor come out. It's going to be a controller. It's something they have to order and then they'll replace. But the inside door that is locked is fully functional. It's just that very outside sliding glass door that was a victim of the power repair. The one with the button now though, the one fully part of the card, but the one with the circle.
The one at the circle.
Yeah, the one at the circle.
The one that has the vestibule, the outside door, when power came back on, that door did not start back up.
Where is the proposed space for the dog park?
Well, there's been a few. The last I knew was where the transportation garage is on the, I think, back left side. Is that right, Danita?
What's the question?
About the golf park location.
I know that was one spot we talked about. Was there another spot in between York Rite and Scottish Rite that was talked about as well? Kind of in that area there. Or York Rite and Bancroft. York Rite and Bancroft, sorry, yeah. Not York Rite and Scottish Rite, they're connected. But yeah, in between York Rite and Bancroft. Bang. Oh, the drapes. I handed that off, but I haven't checked up on that. I will check up on that. I told you I wasn't picking drapes. I handed that off. All right.
Would it be possible to get a new printed management directory with phone numbers so you could know who to call for what?
Yeah, we were actually working on that. We wanted to wait because we just hired Amy. We had a change there. So we didn't want to print it when we knew she was coming. And we also had 2 other changes internally, the ADON and a new MDS nurse that had started. So we had to wait till we got those in there, but we were just waiting to finalize all those before we put it out. Because we didn't want to put it out and be obsolete the week after we got it.
I was just going to ask, so kind of on that line about extension numbers with changing the phone system, if there could be like a list of who has what extension.
Yeah, so the extensions they didn't change. You just have to dial 102 first. So like mine's 3015, now it's 102-3015. I mean, we should be able to create a phone list of extensions now. We pretty much have it all figured out. Yeah, it was a tangled mess. You have no idea. Like, I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate having Crystal here. Because if I showed you the spreadsheet of all the extensions that we have on this campus, and there was, I'd say, over 600 extensions that we don't even use or know where they came from. There was an amazing amount that she had to sort through. And then for 40 years, if Bob quit and we weren't replacing Bob, we forwarded Bob's extension to Susie. And then if Susie quit, well, we weren't replacing Susie, so we forwarded her extension to somebody else. But by that time, we already forgot that Bob's extension was going to Suzie. I mean, you ended up, there were a tremendous amount of extensions we didn't even know existed because they were something else 20 years ago. And they don't have a phone, they don't have an extension, they just go into nowhere and end up at like her desk. Or the worst is the scheduler. I don't know how many extensions you can call and it goes to scheduling. So we had to eliminate a bunch of those, but that was all thankfully done by Crystal. I probably owe her a lot of bourbon or something for that, because it was crazy.
The 102 is from internal calls.
Yep, internal.
External calls,
External calls, you just dial. You just dial 7 digits. You don't need to dial 9 anymore, but you do have to dial 7 digits.
well, I never had to dial 9, but
Well, in the villas, you don't have to dial anything.
Yeah, I
Nothing
was-
changed in the
Yeah, I
villas.
was told to dial blah, 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 and 102 by 3 different people. That's 17 numbers I counted.
Yeah.
937, blah, blah, 102, and then the 582. I said, oh no, I won't call, I'll drive
No.
up there.
Yeah, so if you were in the villa, so if you were in the village, your phones are not tied to the phone system because you can have whatever phone company, whether you want Time Warner or AT&T. So, you never had to dial 9 to dial out versus the campus phone system that did. So if you were calling up, and we actually have a phone number that you can call and it goes straight to, please type your extension. It's the 325-1531 number. So if you call that number and it rolls over to, and you can go ahead and type the extension. So if you wanted to use that, you do 102, whatever extension you wanted. If you still call the regular 525-3067 number, that's the main campus number. You'll now hear like an auto prompt. So it's press 1 for sales and admissions, press 2 for. So we have things like maintenance engineering on there. That way you can get put through to Heather and we can get your work orders in. There's one for security that fast track you to security. You can still press 0 or stay on the line at any time and that's going to take you to the operator. They can also transfer you to extensions too as well, just as it was before.
Cell phones on.
Yeah, you don't need to dial the 102 unless you're calling in and doing an extension. So if you're calling into the Springfield campus through that like 1531 and you're wanting to type an extension in manually, you would need to add the 102.
big percentages is all we have. Why can't we just call the dining room to order lunch
You can.
without hearing a recording hit 4 numbers?
Here.
You have to add the extension.
No.
That's correct. He's going to explain it.
There's always been a number. I actually didn't know that you guys didn't know this. So it's on the menus now. But there's a number that you just dial 937-525-5382 and it rings right to that
That's
phone.
what I do.
Yeah, don't.
My wife does not.
Yeah, so how our phone system works is every extension has an extension and what we call a direct dial or a DID. So the number Tony just read was a DID, a direct dial. So when you call that, it only rings into that one phone. That's the same, someone that has an extension that lives here, you might give out your direct dial. That way when family or friends call, it goes straight and only to your phone. There's no one in between. So we have those numbers for community center, for the sandwich shop. So if anyone wants those numbers, we can get them and probably distribute them through PBX.
Well, we actually, when we found out, it was brought to my attention probably about a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago. If you look at the weekly menu that's sent out, they made the change and that number's on there now. Because it used to have just the extension.
Right.
I didn't know people didn't know about that number, so we had them change it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
525-5382?
Yes.
Yeah, 5382. So you don't have to go through any prompts or ask anybody, it just goes right to the,
Contact list, you got it.
yep. Bill?
So when you dial in on the 1531 number, you still have to push 1 and then punch in the 7-digit extension.
No, so when you dial in the 1531, you'll just type 102 and then whatever that 4-digit extension
When
was.
it first went over, it didn't work.
Yeah, they had to change it.
Okay, so they fixed it?
Yeah, so we worked, yeah, there was a problem when they first did the programming on it that we had to correct.
Yeah.
So, and we worked with one lady exclusively that did all of the programming for our entire campus. And when Tony said, I mean, our original list of phone numbers had over 1,600 numbers or extensions on our campus, and we're down in the 600 range. So there was a lot of work between she and I, and she knew the technical side and the rollovers, but we spent a lot of time just calling numbers, trying to see where they answer to, does this belong to this person or not. There was a lot of time.
I've never tried this.
We need a phone book. We need a phone book.
I did that to the, here's the Scottish, let's do the, here's so you can just,
We're going to test that out on that 1351 or 1531.
I'll try it right now.
I just did, and it didn't work. I tried it both ways. And I was also calling my desk. My desk is 40%.
Yeah, I'll check it because we troubleshot it.
Tony, I just called it, it says using our dial by extension
Press
directory.
1.
Please press 1.
Now
Okay.
press 1 and then try 102-5828.
So I think what that's prompting to is it's asking you to press 1 to dial by directory. If you press 0 immediately, it'll also take you to the operator. I think that's why it's probably.
Yeah, it didn't work by dialing 1.
No.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get that. We're gonna have to have them look at
Dial
that.
dining room extension.
Yeah, we'll dial even, and then I pressed 1 and hit the extension, and it told me there was a problem.
Yeah.
So
I was going to try the post office.
we'll have to have them try that. Have to have them look at that one. There's a lot of things we're still trying to figure out with the phone system. It's a vastly different phone system than the old one, that is for sure. Okay, all
It
right.
does work in the post office. I do know that. I've had to call once or twice. Whatever.
Do you hit 1 and then the post office
I hit
extension?
1, then I hit 102 and whatever. the
And it
post
works?
office- And it works.
All right, well, it wasn't working for me just now. Did it work?
I stopped the community center. So it does ask you to press 1 because if you listen to both menu options, it says please press 1 to use the dial by extension or press 0 to speak to the operator. So that's why it's asking you to press the 1 because there's more than one call option.
When I pressed 1 though, when I hit the extension, it didn't work.
So we'll have to look if she has all of them perfect.
All right,
Got a question for you.
Sure.
We're looking for vendors for the 4th of July. Is there a chance that Smith's Food Truck could be here?
maybe, they're open. Who is it?
Smith's, Sherman Village over in
Columbus.
Columbus.
Good stuff.
Smith's Sausage House.
You can ask.
Okay.
All I can do is ask. Sure. All right,
I have a question.
Sure.
Actually, it's the question from the people behind me. My voice carries. Okay. Since we had the windstorm, and a lot of us in Scottish Rite on the ends, our patio doors blew open, and they put blocks on the top to keep it firm somewhat. When are we gonna get that corrected to have it permanent, that
Well-
we can open our door without having to take?
we've actually had a couple of meetings about it. So I'll give you the history of those doors. Scottish Rite was built, and those doors were custom made. And then we had problems with them right out of the gate. We brought the vendor and the builder back out, and they replaced them all.
And it is, I don't know what the issue is, other than apparently custom building doors doesn't get you anywhere but into trouble. So we've had a couple of meetings about it. Everything's out of warranty. Everything's out of anybody's scope at this point. So it's up to us to try to figure out where to go. And we've talked about a few different options for securing them inside. The biggest issue that we're having is one of the ways to do it, the best way to do it is like how these doors are. You shut, well, not these doors. These doors have locks on both. Like a French door, the one that closes has a little slide that goes up and one that goes down.
Mm-hmm.
That actually would hold that door, because then when the other one's on it, then it would stay shut. The problem is, those doors are very tall, and if I put a latch up here, you're not going to be able to reach it. So we are trying to find a latch that goes top to bottom, that you can unlatch from standing here, or something along those lines that gives us a positive resistance against the wind on those doors. Because the way those doors open, how big they are, the position of the building, they catch all the wind. And they're not withholding it. You know, they're not holding the wind back. And this is the second set of doors in a building that opened November 25th, 2015. It's not that old. And we've already replaced them, you know, once. And it's just a very, very bad design. And the whole concept is that there's no threshold. You don't have to step over anything. And honestly, I don't know if that is part of the problem, but it sure isn't helping the situation. So we do have some ideas. It's identifying vendors, getting stuff in, and then trying to get them figured out.
Yeah, so and I can say, you know, we were looking for a solid piece. We weren't able to easily source anything. We actually did purchase kind of two separate pieces, with the top one being over 2 foot long, so that it's, you know, someone doesn't have to stand up on their tippy toes if they're short. And we did place a couple in some kind of trial units, because before we go buying them and installing them on every single door and putting holes in custom doors, we want to try them and make sure that this is going to work to prevent that. So we do have some in that we're currently testing to make sure that this is the appropriate fix. So we don't tell you it's fixed and then have to come back in, you know, 6 months and fix it again. So we're just trying to make sure that the solution we came up with is actually going to be the final solution.
Well, the doors are wonderful, except when the wind blows.
Yeah.
Or when it snows,
Yeah.
because people are getting
Yeah,
snow
yeah.
inside. It's a lot of
High
fun.
enough. You take it.
I'm not used to you that's not speaking up.
Thank you.
I
Yep.
have the patio with the doors, but my bedroom, and I have a thermometer there, it registers 4 degrees lower than the rest of the apartment. And you walk over by the door, you have bare feet, you freeze it.
Yeah, that's a standard at every door.
yeah.
Every door is going to be colder by the door. The doors just they're not insulated as much.
Whatever they're called, along the bottom.
You can put like a draft protector, but on those doors, I don't know if it would close. Because those doors ride super low.
Just put your, in the winter time, just roll up a blanket and put it in front of it. Because it only comes in to the door side that opens.
Did you learn that in college? In the dorm?
I learned that because the snow was coming in my apartment, and I had blocked everything, so I just got a blanket and put it underneath there, and the blanket froze, but it stopped, it got warm.
I had friends who were cold a lot like that in college.
The door,
All right.
it's just not on the in one. The wind blows,
Yeah, that whole, southwest facing side there catches all that wind.
the one that faces the...
Festival Green.
Yeah,
All right, well, we got happy hour coming up, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Stan, you want to send us on our way? Oh, sure.
Hey, guys, change the subject real quick.
Sure.
Those of us that lived in a pool room on one night have gotten to the point where we really need a couple nights for different people to play pool. Is it possible to move some of those tables over into what I call the mail room, so that the card players can field there, and that would free up a night for the pool.
Yep, absolutely.
Who do we see about making things happen?
Crystal, we'll talk to Jody.
Thank you. As long as they have your
Please join me in prayer.
My own brain.
Great architect of the universe, we thank you for the many blessings you bestowed upon us. We thank you for your guidance for the staff, the board, and we particularly ask your guidance for the new entrance and exit so we don't have any residents get hurt. We also thank you for your watchful eye over those families that have been affected by death or sickness, and ask that you continue to bless them and watch them. We also thank you for blessing and watching over our first responders and our military that makes our life so safe. We ask your continued watchful eye over us and guidance, and ask that you bless all the staff, and at last stay with your Christ. Amen.